Outer Banks Season 2 is finally here, and if you haven't already, please go and check out my non-spoiler review for this season where I break down all my thoughts and feelings on Outer Banks Season 2 in general, because this right here, this is the spoiler breakdown where we are going to be talking about all the biggest reveals, twists, cliffhangers, and of course also my theories for Outer Banks Season 3. And of course, if you couldn't tell already, there is going to be spoilers in this video. Spoilers ahead, spoiler warning. So if you've not yet seen Outer Banks Season 2, the full 10 episodes, then, well, it's probably not the best idea to go ahead and watch this video. At least not right now. So go ahead and check it out. Highly recommend it. But now that if you're still here, then hopefully you've seen this season. And let's get into talking about it. And let's start off with actually this new mystery that was introduced in Season 2. With the Mystery Golden Cross. This was the new treasure, new MacGuffin that was introduced about halfway through the season. And the reason that this story is so important is because it actually has a huge tie to Pope. Because it turns out Pope is actually related to Denmark Tanny. So that means that this golden cross technically belongs to his family. So that's why we see that he is so determined to get his hands on this cross so that he can get it back to his family where it belongs. And I really enjoyed seeing that personally because Pope is one of my favorite characters. So I really love seeing him to come more to the forefront and get to explore this character even more in this season. But of course with this new treasure, it brings new villains with the introduction of Carla Limbri, who we find out is actually dying, and that's why she wants to get her hand on this cross, because there's supposedly this magic cloth inside that's going to be able to heal her. And as we find out actually at the cliffhanger of the season, that she's not the only one that's trying to get healed, but we'll talk about that later. So overall, she was a pretty interesting villain, didn't really have that huge of an impact, because of course we were still focusing on the other villains with both Ward and Rafe. Speaking of Ward, he died. Or did he? Because no, he did not. And I remember when I watched that episode when his boat blew up, I knew as soon as he was saying like, "Oh, Sarah, you can't be here. I don't want you to see this." Like, all right, yeah, he's gonna commit suicide. He's gonna blow up the boat or something. And that's exactly what he did. But I knew at the same time, there's no way he's dead, because that's like the #1 rule in all movies and TV shows. If you don't see the body, they're probably not dead. And that's exactly what happened here, because we find out in the cliffhanger of episode 9, guess what? Ward is alive. He faked his death. Kind of saw it coming and was kind of predictable, but at the same time, was still awesome to see him come back. And he's really gone just like full crazy now finally realizing that Sarah is not one of them anymore. She's now officially a Pogue. And then he's like, alright, I guess I have no choice because you're going to go tell the cops about us and everything. So, just like your brother, I'm going to have to try and kill you now. And obviously he didn't succeed because John B showed up to save the day. Good thing. But he's a psycho. And he's actually like knocked out by the end of this. John B actually almost kills him the same way that Ward actually killed John B's father. But of course John B looks up at Sarah and doesn't really want her to have to watch her father die again, for a second time. It's bad enough watching it happen once, but twice is even worse. So he basically he doesn't necessarily forgive Ward, but he kind of gets a sense of letting that anger go and just putting it to rest so that now he can move on finally. And luckily our whole crew is able to successfully and safely escape the boat, but unfortunately, our villains still make it out of this pretty wealthy, because now Rafe and his crew and Ward and the whole Cameron family, minus Sarah, not only do they have the gold, but now they also have the golden cross as well, because Pope tried to throw that off the side of the boat, but of course Rafe, that mischievous guy, he and the rest of his crew were able to pull it back up. So now that they've got their hands on that, they're even richer than before. So I'm really interested to see what kind of role they're going to be playing in Season 3. So, while they're over there sitting pretty, just being all rich and stuff on that crazy yacht, and I mean, like, I'd love to have a yacht like that, our main characters, the Pogues, they're actually getting washed up on this desert island, and they have no idea where it is. It's just some random island. JJ decides to call it Pogelandia, and that's where they're left off for the season. And everybody actually thinks that they're missing and everything. There's missing posters for Key put up everywhere. And everybody just thinks that they are gone. And obviously, it's probably not the best conditions living out there just on some desert island alone. But at the same time, that actually sounds kind of fun. Like just having your own private island, just getting to hang out with your friends, no adults, no parents. That sounds awesome. And I would love to experience that. I mean, probably not the greatest for like, food and shelter and stuff. You kind of got to get that on your own. But honestly, still sounds like a fun experience. And we do actually get some hints here at what I think are some potential future relationships. Because, of course, in this season, we did have Key and Pope. They actually broke up, which I was actually super upset about. Because, they spent a whole season and a half building up that relationship, and I was really falling in love with them as a couple, really loved them, and then they break up and they're like, oh, we should just be friends. And then I figured by the end of the season they'd get back together and realize like, oh, they really love each other. But no, that's not what's happening. It looks like they're actually switching partners here. So first of all, it looks like Pope and Cleo may actually end up together. Again, this is just kind of theorizing, but just thinking about the way like when they were on this island, when they were sitting around the campfire, the way they were sitting, Cleo and Pope were sitting together. Same goes for JJ and Key. Just those two pairs sitting together, and the way they were looking at each other and everything when JJ first like woke up and spat out the water when they were on the boat. The way that Key really looked at him when he first woke up and she was holding him. You could tell that something's going on there. I'm pretty sure these two relationships are really going to blossom in season 3. And again, I don't really know how to feel about this because I really like the Pope and Key relationship. I'm not so sure about Cleo yet. We didn't really get enough of her in the season for me to really have a good feeling on how I feel about the character. But she is, I guess, technically a new member of the Pogue, so I suppose that could be good. And then as for Key and JJ, I kind of like it because there's been a lot of hints and teases here throughout both seasons, actually, that JJ likes Key. So I've always liked that idea, but at the same time, I always preferred Key with Pope. But I also really like JJ, so I'm interested to see where it goes and if that actually does end up becoming a thing. And if it does, then why is that allowed to happen but not Key and Pope? Because the reason they broke up is because they just wanted to be friends and it was weird. But I mean, JJ and Key are friends, so I don't know where that's going to go, but I'm definitely really interested and really excited to find out. But one question I want to ask you right here is, what is this island? Because of course JJ again names it Pogelandia and it's great and everything, but they say it's just some random desert island. But could this be a specific island? I'll talk about that in a second, because let's talk about this crazy cliffhanger ending for Outer Banks Season 2. Because we meet back up with Cara Limbri, where she goes to this place where she meets this guy, and he takes her to this little shack cabin type thing out on the beach or something like that. She walks in, walks around and everything, and then she walks out on the deck, and there, sitting right there, is Big John Rutledge. Somehow he is alive. And I mean, I don't know how to feel about this, because it was something that like I kind of like, it makes sense, but also doesn't make sense, because I have no idea how he survived. They already tricked us the first time when we first thought he died from just hitting his head off the side of the boat when he was there with Ward, but then it was told later in the story that he actually survived long enough to wash up on an island where then where he actually made a little hut, and that was where he carved Redfield into the compass and everything. So we know he survived that long, but then when we saw that flashback of, I don't remember his name, but the guy going there and finding that compass for the first time on that island, you saw the skeleton right there in that little hut from Big John's flashback. So we kind of assumed that, yes, he was dead, even after that, surviving the first attack, and that was his skeleton. So I'm not really sure how he survived, and I'm not sure how they're going to explain it, but I am definitely really excited to see how this is going to go into Season 3, especially now that Ward is also still alive, so now we're going to be having that rivalry once again, and just to find out more about this character of Big John is really going to be interesting, because, he was kind of, the whole mystery of his disappearance was kind of the big thing in Season 1, but we never really got to know much about him as a character. So I'm really excited to see that in Season 3. But let's bring this back to the island. Because as I just mentioned, Big John, after he was attacked by Ward and almost died, he washed up on this desert island. And that's where his compass was first left. And this is completely just spitballing here and just some crazy theory that I just came up with. But what if this island that now the Pogues have washed up on at the end of Season 2, named Pogelandia, is actually that same island? That's really kind of the only idea I've come up with, because that's the only other desert island that we've been introduced to in the show. So it would make sense, but I think that would be really cool for that to be something like that, and then maybe John B actually comes across his father's hut and maybe some of his other belongings or something like that, more clues to this mystery, and that could help to explain how he actually ended up surviving, and how Carla Limbury is involved in this whole thing as well. So it really is crazy, and again, I don't know for sure if it is the same island, but it would make sense and would add for some really interesting dynamics in Season 3. And yeah, guys, so I really enjoyed Outer Banks Season 2. It was such a crazy, wild ride, such a crazy 24 hours watching all those 10 episodes, but I absolutely loved it. The only thing that sucks, as I mentioned in my non-spoiler review, is that now we gotta wait like at least a year for Season 3, which is really disappointing. But I'm super excited for when it does come, because things are gonna be crazy and I'm so excited for it. But guys, what do you think about Outer Banks Season 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, all your thoughts on the big spoiler moments of this season. And of course, following up after that cliffhanger of Big John's survival. And do you think that that is the same island that he first washed up on that now has become Pogelandia? So guys, anyways, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video and hit the subscribe button so I can keep up to date on everything that goes on in the movie life.